Okay, here you go. It's what you wear when you're doing chainsawing. Real quick, got a hat with some ear protection and some face protection. You should be wearing eye protection too, alright? Then, you got a set of chaps right here. And you got a set of gloves, alright? Now, that's pretty cut and dry, isn't it? Anyway, okay. But that's. So, here's next. Gerald had asked me how I sharpen my chainsaw. Well, there's a couple ways. One is I've got this thing. Can't figure out how to put it going, but it just flips back and forth. All right, now normally when in the shop, I use this thing, and it goes back and forth. All right, that's a little goes back and forth. You could do that. It's got a knife. Here's a file that goes on the end of it like that. But I normally, when I'm out in the field, I do this by hand. Now, each tooth is in a different position. So you got this cutting tooth. Here goes that way. All right. So now here's the critical point. See how I got that? See how I have the file? You don't want to rock it. It fits just in there perfectly, right? And then you file it one. Or actually, I like to bring it towards me. 1, 2, and 3. And now this one goes the opposite direction. Okay. So it goes that way, right? Now, what I do when I do this is I take mark off. I've got an ink marking pen. I mark off. Let's say this is where I start. I'll do one side first. So I'll do all the teeth that are face this direction, which would be out towards this way, right? Then once I get back to my mark again, I reverse it and do the other side. So I have a black mark here and a white mark here, and that tells me where my start and stopping points are. The white mark is just when I do the other side. Two things you gotta understand. One is it's critical too. The type of file you use. It's in your manual. I use this one. It's a fine-tuned one. It's hard to tell. It's really fine. That's in your manual. It tells you which file you should be using. The other thing that's really crucial is if you do the tooth, whatever you do in their chain, if you do the tooth 3 or 4 strokes this way, all of them have to be that way. Not just this one. You can't go 1, 2, 3, and then go to the next one, 1, 2, and so forth and so on. In other words, keep track. I like to pull into me. A lot of times the way this file here is, you could go back and forth, but I like to do one stroke in the same direction each time. This is a 32-inch chain bar. That's another thing. Your chain should be just barely big in your chain should be tight enough. Just barely pull that down. So you can leave about like 1/8 of an inch on there, so a little bit of play. You never want it too tight. This here is a scrunch. It's a wrench actually. It's a screwdriver and a wrench. Okay, it's a socket. And you use that to adjust your chain width. Now, it's a little bit more complicated with this one because it's a bigger toy. My other one I'm working on. Where did I put it? Oh, it's on the other end. I rebuilt my 16-inch one. So, anyway, When I get to running them again, I'll go over the whole thing again. But I thought I'd post this for my friend Gerald. And you could take that to the bank, or in the woods in this case. Adios.